Hello, thank you for tuning in to the Jamel Reed Show. I'm your host, Jamel Reed, and it is another wonderful day. The weather is quite brisky, but I'm enjoying it because I like this good season. Today, I want to welcome again to the show, J. Kara Grant. Thank you. We're going to just talk about relationships. The pitfalls of relationships, the aspects, what perspective, boundaries, because I believe that in order to have successful relationships, be it personal, interpersonal, work, business, ministry, there has to be guidelines in place so that we'll know what to do when we go into these relationships or when we get into these partnerships. We need to have specific guidelines in place so that everybody is respected and we get the full potential out of whatever it is that we're looking to do or to be. So again, thank you for joining me, J. Kara. So give us a little insight on your perspective of relationships as a whole.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me. Once again, I appreciate you. I appreciate your platform and all that you bring to the table.
Thank you.
Relationships. First of all, if we can't relate, we're not going to be in the same ship.
Okay. Okay. I like that. I like that.
You know, that different relationship, so many, it's so broad because my relationship with my husband is different from the one I have with our sons. My relationship with my clients are different from the ones I have with friends. You know, there is just so many ways, so many different ways that we can respect each other. And that's one of the main things as well. When it comes to relationships, we have to respect the other person. We have, no matter what level, because we don't treat everyone the same.
Absolutely.
No way. We don't treat everyone the same, but we can respect everyone.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Even as it pertains to family, when we look at that perspective, you can actually disrespect without even knowing it.
Yes, sir.
Even though that you may be my family, if there's not a clear guideline or parameters in place, we can mistakenly take the other one for granted.
That's true.
Now, growing up, let's take it from a ministry perspective. Whether I'm pastoring family members or not, we still have to respect each other. So what is the guideline? Where's the cutoff? Where's the manual? It just happens that I'm favored to be my mom's, not just only her youngest son, but I'm her apostle. Isn't that wonderful? And we don't have any levels of disrespect because I'm her son. She listens to me. She asks for advice when it comes to the things of God and things that she may not understand. But I'm her son. I'm her baby. As she likes to say sometimes as a joke between us, and she whispered it to me at my 30th appreciation for ministry. She whispered when she was saying, "What do you want me to say?" And she said, "I should tell him you my baby." And I started laughing. It's a side joke, but it's easy sometimes for family to take someone for granted. Can you touch on this? And we're just going to be open and we're going to flow and see how it goes. And because I know that there's some people who have questions and maybe they're afraid to touch on it. Well, y'all know I'm not. I'm just going to say it. But sometimes by me being a pastor, when I'm asked to do funerals for family members, loved ones, the question is, how much? Well, that's where I come and say, I have a publicist or I have someone who keeps my books because I'm not going to treat you the same way. I'm going to respect you, but then you have to respect me that I didn't just start this overnight. And for some, that may be a touchy subject, but how much do you value yourself? You can't put a value on, or you can't allow other people to put a value because they may mistakenly devalue. Like you've been all over the world. You've done many things. You've been on many platforms. You're going into the film industry. So there's a plethora of knowledge that you possess. So when people come to ask a question, you're not a novice. And so there's nothing wrong with you demanding that respect for the level of expertise and knowledge that you possess. There's nothing wrong with that. And so it is a fundamental principle that if I was born and raised in the ghetto, once I see a different way out, I may have gone to school, got a degree. It doesn't mean that I'm better than you, but I want better for my life and for the life of my family. So I may move out of that environment to be in an environment that is conducive for now where my new mindset is. And again, I'm not acting brand new on you. I still know you, still love and respect you, but we have different paths. And so I can't afford to let you keep me bound because of where we come from. I'm not going to forget that. I'm a product of that. But whatever I'm going out to do is going to be a reflection of where I come from. And so I can always relate and connect even if I don't stay where I've come from. Does that make sense? And so how would you share with us and help us to be more confident in our relationships that we have with our set family, so to speak, kinfolk, in lieu of where we are and what we do as we operate in ministry or business?
Yeah. So when it comes to family, our family really sometimes only know us at a certain level.
Right.
They have not seen the places we've gone, or they really don't know all that's imparted into us, actually. So our family can be limited, their knowledge of us, our relationship with our families. It can be great in some areas, but sometimes it won't be.
Right.
Because we're so familiar with one another.
And that sometimes is a danger when we're so familiar, because if we're not careful and people are familiar, they can pull us into a place that we are not familiar with anymore. We don't operate there. So how do you suggest that we are, those of us that may be struggling with that, how do we come out of that? How do we make our stance to say that, hey, I'm no longer there? Or how do we maintain the respect? Because it could be my aunt, it could be an uncle, it could be my grandparent. Help us to curtail our words. We have to season them with grace. So tell us how to do that without feeling so emotional or feeling so disrespected. Because sometimes people just don't know that they don't know. And that's her favorite phrase to me. Well, they don't know. And sometimes I'm like, no, they know, J. Karen, they know. But we're going to take into consideration that maybe they really don't know.
Yes. And just as you just said, I'm his publicist, but I'm counting down the days. Because you know what? With our relationship, we can laugh.
Absolutely.
Lord knows we can fuss.
She does the fuss.
And Lord knows disagreements
are major.
But major disagreements. But because of the relationship, we know that I would never intentionally do you harm.
Right.
And I know that you wouldn't me either. So we have to be at a certain level, at a place in our lives that we can know, talk, disagree, but we still keep the relationship intact.
Absolutely.
Communicate, even with our families, the same way. We may not talk for days or weeks or months, but because we have to stay in our lane.
Absolutely.
I just stay in my lane. Some family members may not really know me and they may think whatever, but we still love one another. And one thing I never do is just try to explain myself away of who I am. But I don't do that with anyone, really.
Okay,
I
now,
just be me. And
when you say explain yourself away, we can get lost in trying to over-explain, and that's time that's wasted. So would you agree with me, and not just because we're on set, but would you agree to say that sometimes the best philosophy is just to demonstrate who you are without explaining? And sometimes it would take, it may take a cycle or two for them to really realize, as you said, sometimes our family and those, not just families, so we're not downgrading our family. We still love your family, but sometimes y'all can be something. But sometimes it's hard.
And sometimes we can be something.
Okay, but we can be something with the mic. Who's
Yeah,
got the
we can.
platform?
Yes,
Oh,
sir, I'm
no.
sorry.
No. But sometimes in lieu of that, as you said, that sometimes people, and
Mhm.
not just family, because sometimes we have friends that develop into families,
Mhm.
they don't know, or our extended family, and they don't know how to handle us. And sometimes that's where it falls on us
Mhm.
to be the person that God has created, or the new
Yes.
person that we're now being. We're not acting brand new, but our mindset is different.
Yes.
We're not running around playing in the sandbox anymore.
Mhm.
Now we're in corporate America. We're doing things. We're executives and directors and
Yes.
owners of corporations and things of that nature. So we have to show that we're not that, and we have to. When you first hear the word demand respect, it appears that we're walking around saying you're gonna respect me, but not necessarily. When you demand respect, you carry yourself in such a way that your presence, commands the room.
Yes.
And so sometimes you have to do that when you know that you're in a different place. When you walk with family or whatever, when you walk in, sometimes you can't indulge in those same things, even if it's minimal conversations. Like when sometimes we go too far with joking and jesting.
Mhm.
And then sometimes I've been in situations where they wait for that opportune moment to say, "Oh, but you the preacher. Ha ha, you said that." So sometimes you have to just distance yourself, get in, be seen and not heard, and move and go from there. So would you agree that sometimes you just have to demonstrate that and allow the processes of time to take place?
Yes, sir. What I normally do with my family, not my husband and children, but I'll say at family reunions or
Okay.
cousins or other family members, when I'm with them, I don't talk about J. Carroll, the television. I don't talk about the public. I just keep the conversation on family only.
I like that. That's a good suggestion.
Because as long as we keep that common denominator relationship as conversation on family only, there's nothing could be done wrong or said wrong
and
or
and
less
sometimes,
offenses. Just
yeah,
family. Let's talk about family. What we used to do back in the day or
yeah.
whatever.
And because sometimes
Yeah.
people aren't where you are and they may feel intimidated,
Yes, yes.
but
That's why
that's
I
not
don't
your
go
fault.
into that.
And sometimes we do take on that because we can feel it.
Mhm.
But I don't deal with that because when I go back home, I'm on a 4-wheeler in my hat, shoes. But today I got on some sneakers because I just want to do something a little different. You like my shoes, J. Carroll? Because but
No.
you want my red bottoms? Well, whatever. But I'll just relax. I'll ride horses and walk through the woods.
Mhm.
But I'm just saying, in totality, there are people that, as I counsel and I listen, sometimes they do feel that way. So we're just being a little transparent, but I'm taking it from the perspective of what has been said to me.
Mhm.
Things that have been asked when we're asking for suggestions and how do you think I ought to maneuver for this? How do you think I should do this? And as you said, we all have different relationships. I have 5 sons
Mhm.
and 2 daughters, and all of us have a different relationship. I don't
Mhm.
treat any of them the same because I know who I
Right.
can fully
Right.
depend on. I know who I can talk to. I know who's going to text me in the middle of
Mhm.
church, who's going to say something. When my youngest daughter is at church with me, we're going to text. She's going to say something to me. We're going to make eye contact, look at something that's funny. Whereas Tiffany would do that too. My older daughter, she'll do that.
Mhm.
But we all have our different relationships. Of course, y'all know I go to eat with Jamari and Jamal all the time. But again, our relationships are different. And we have different conversations, but we all love each other equally.
Right.
Now, some would say, who's my favorite? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. But nonetheless, as you said, we all maneuver. Now, in the area of business, I just recently joined the Chamber of Commerce for the county that my church is located in. And I've made a lot of wonderful connections, and just my mind has been literally blown at the connections that I have made. So with that being said, J. Carroll, relationships and networks in the capacities that they're there to serve, if you stay in that within that lane as you spoke of, then there's no disrespect. There's nobody trying to step. When I first got into the chamber, and just take a moment to just highlight that it wasn't what I expected because I didn't know. I was limited. I didn't know what to expect. It was a good suggestion that the city was like, hey, why don't you do this? Consider this. If you're looking to do this. And then the chamber would be a great resource. Once I got in, my mind was blown. And it was almost like I was already driving 50. Now it's like I'm driving 110 because it's just so many doors have opened, so many avenues. I've made connections with caterers. And well, I know plenty caterers, but I'm just saying now it's just like everything is just like hand over fist. It's easy. Whatever I need, I can pick up the phone, like, or go to the directory, call, speak with this person, that person to get the things done. And so relationships, would you agree, they actually enhance any and everything that you're doing when it's the right relationship.
Absolutely.
So can you touch on that for a moment? As it pertains to maybe what you've seen or what you are now seeing as a result of your the TV and film industry, things of that nature. What can you say about the connections?
Yes, sir. Connections is anytime the Lord does something great for us or pushes us out, it 9 times out of 10 is because of a relationship or a new connection that we've made. So we have to value every relationship. We have to value and not having relationships with some as well.
Okay.
Because they are not, we're just not at the same place. We're not going in the same direction. So I respect your direction. You respect mine. We still have a relationship, but it just may be limited.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And there's nothing wrong with having a limited relationship.
Yes.
Just keeping it within that parameters, as we would say, talking about the weather and the weather only. Not the weather. We're going to the mall. Let's talk about what we're going to have for dinner, what your children are doing, because sometimes it creates a disruption in the boundary, and you don't want to cross over that boundary because then now we're expecting things that was not specifically outlined at the onset. So there should be a general understanding once we attempt to venture out into a relationship.
Yes, sir. And even where clients are concerned, I have quite a bit of clients, but I treat absolutely none of them the same.
Absolutely.
Because we have to know where each other are. I know where he is, she is. I know where they are. So once we speak or I consult them or deal with them pertaining business, I know what not to say. I know where they are. So we just handle each other differently. And a lot of times I do as the Bible says, whenever I go to Rome, I'm as the Romans.
Okay.
If I'm dealing with someone of high caliber, high on the corporate ladder, I know how to speak to those people. I know what words not to say or what to say. I know how not to say dog.
Oh, golly.
You just know who you're dealing with.
Right.
You act according to who you're dealing with.
Okay.
If it's someone that maybe, as we say at times, as some of us may say, if someone is kind of ghetto or whatever, I know how to talk to them as well. I know we have to be not only transparent, but we have to allow ourselves to just be where a person is.
Right.
We have to know how to communicate with most anybody across the board.
Now, I like that because I saw that when I was teaching school. I had a lot of, I was always mostly in inner city. Yes. I taught in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Alabama. And recently, and this, I was offered a teaching job at Ida B. Wells Middle School in Washington, but I turned it down for what the Lord is doing now, that I would not have had the time to go there, fly back on the weekend, preach, and then go back during the week. So, but that opportunity was presented, and I do thank God for it. But when I was talking to parents that sometimes felt intimidated, and when I did teach, I was in the special needs category, the classrooms. And so sometimes those IEPs at 504 plans, a lot of the verbiage, the parents did not fully understand what that all entailed or what they had rights and privileges to and what their children were entitled to. And so I gained a lot of respect because I broke it down. And a lot of them sometimes didn't know what to expect because here I am with these hats and bow ties and, but I'm running on the playground. I'm in the swing and I'm haying to everybody, knowing people by names. And so on a daily basis, when I would see parents and, giving them the rundown or in the car line, the bus terminals, whatever, they always saw me ball games. You know me, like you just said, I'm always all over the place doing everything and into the marketplace. But I made them feel comfortable because I broke it down and allowed them, even when we had those end of the year meetings and it's 8 or 9 people in there, plus the parent and the children. And sometimes they felt overwhelmed. And I was able to be that liaison to make that connection between them and the school so that they felt a part of the process. And as you said, even in relationships, it's good to make people feel a part of the process so that it's not a one-way monologue. You want a dialogue. You want a conversation. You want to feel a part of what it is that's going on. And so you being in ministry these many years, tell us from I guess I can say from a pastoral perspective, how should we govern relationships in the church? Meaning, I've heard, and I've been pastoring now for going on 13 years, and in ministry for 30. So a lot of times I've heard and I've seen, and maybe this is what has helped me too, that members can't be friends with their leader. I beg to differ. We can be friendly and cordial and fellowship because that is the foundation. That's one of the foundational principles of the church is fellowship. But you got to know, again, when you set clear-cut boundaries, I mean, I have a reputation that precedes me, so everybody knows that I can be in the middle of preaching and see somebody, kid acting, let me help you out. Because, back in the day, our pastors helped to raise us. They had a hand in, and now certain people, they may feel a certain way. No, not when you set the tone. I don't care how you feel. Your child need a whooping and you do too. But tell us how to, and when you have a passion, when people know how much you care, they don't really care to know how much you know until they know how much you care. So when people see how much you care, they don't take certain things to heart, or they don't take it in a belittling manner, no matter how you say it, because they know from what perspective it's coming from. I have an aunt that's like that. And we was growing up, we thought she was so mean, but she had potato chips and cookies, candy. And so she always gave it out and still does it to this day. To, she's in education as well, but, people think she's so mean, but no, not really. It's just the way she acts, but it's not, because she'll give you shirts, shoes, offer feet, whatever. And so touch on that briefly about how, how successful it is for the pastor to have, or how important it is for certain relationships and the dynamics of where they're coming from in leadership to the parishioners.
Yes. Well, you've answered your own question after you asked.
Well, add to it.
Well, I add to it. Everyone comes in as different people.
Okay.
Not only on different levels, but we're all so different. Thank God everyone is not like you. But thank God no one is like me either. Yeah. Stop. Thank God.
Pastor Taylor, come and get her.
When we come in church, it's like, I need help now. We need help in different levels. We can't treat everyone the same.
This is true. We can't.
I should not expect to. You can't treat sister so-and-so like you treat her.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we have to mature them. That's why we can't just preach to them.
Absolutely.
We have to get into a classroom setting and teach everyone that we're not on the same level.
Absolutely.
I may have known her for 20 years, so I'm not going to treat you that I've known for 1 year as I do someone that I've known for 20 years.
Absolutely.
You're still childish. You're still jealous-hearted.
Okay.
You're jealous because he or she talked to the pastor every Sunday, but he don't talk to you. So, it's just people are at different levels. So we have to have a relationship built with each person
on the level where they are.
Yes. And then have Bible study or counsel or sessions to let everyone know that this is something that we do. This is why we do what we do.
Okay.
But if not, we can't expect for everybody to just know.
Right.
They may not just know.
And that's where the teaching comes in,
Yes,
because
sir.
you can't assume that everybody would know what's to be expected. And so that's why every now and then we do refresher courses, or we'll go over something that may have been already talked to. And then, generally I will incorporate something, that a concept, principle, some kind of what I call housekeeping tips that we should always know. And every now and then we should just always go back and revisit things that maybe the Lord has said to us prior. Maybe we're waiting on something to come to pass. And as we come to a close, I want to just say that to the viewers and to the audience that, and I want to come back and allow you to say something too, because you're a jewel and a diamond in the rough. But sometimes we're waiting for the manifestation of something. You have to be encouraged, and that's why it's good to write certain things down.
Yes, sir.
To let me quit holding this mic like I'm in church, but
I
was getting. but you want to hold on to what God has said and maintain your joy. I'm glad that we're able to laugh even on set. I laugh all the time, because that's one thing that Jesus prayed for, that your faith would not fail. So would you say something to the audience in closing?
Yes, sir. I'm just so thankful to be here today talking about relationships. And of course, we definitely have not even really skimmed or touched the surface or got into the deep part of things. But whatever you do, no matter who you're connected with, have that relationship that your mind can stay clear, your conscience can stay clear. Make sure that you just be open to receive things differently. Everyone is not like you, but be open to other personalities. Be open to how other people's backgrounds are, because we don't know what they've gone through, what they've dealt with, the abandonment, their grief. They've been punished. They have been abused and misused. So when they come to us, we have to never, ever, ever, ever take things personally, because we don't know where each other are. So whatever we need to do to sustain that relationship, then we can do that. No matter who's right, who's wrong, no matter what, let's just make sure that we keep our relationships really intact.
Thank you so much again for joining me, J. Carroll. Thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, I'm your host, Jamel Reed. God bless.